What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. OG here, and I wanted to talk to you about the best additions goals could make to take their game to the next level. Now, the other day I got to speak with Marky on the phone, which I'm extremely happy about because even though I haven't seen the guy play 1v1, I've seen some clips of him in 5v5 and just heard the legend. And apparently, this guy takes football gaming to a whole nother level. Like, his skill is apparently otherworldly, and I can get an idea because I've played beasts like Law, Marceau, Corb, Ronald, just slightly, and a few others as well. Just monster players that we have here in goals, which is awesome, by the way. And for Marky to be just on another level that beats those guys, pretty handily, it's insane. And so I didn't get to talk to him and pick his brain as much as I'd like, but he definitely has a winner's mentality. He definitely speaks his mind. And one of the most interesting things he said is, why compare goals to these other football games that we know are trash? Like, we all know they're terrible. So why say, oh, well, goals is better than this, goals is better than this? Well, if those games are trash, that's not saying much. And he's absolutely right. So, in the way that he was speaking, he wants the game to be improved greatly in a lot of areas, right? And that's understandable. That's a winner's mentality, like I said. For me, I have a little bit more of a positive outlook because just the fact that the goals devs have gone their own path, didn't make the same mistakes and turn this game into another copycat of, let's say, FC or eFootball, similar to UFL. They started out pretty original. I love the fact that at the start, it was all manual defending. If you didn't control your defender, the opponent could run right by them like they were a cone, right? To the point where that was a breath of fresh air because in FC and eFootball especially, the AI defense still to this day, it's not even football defense. FC just had a recent patch, and yes, the defense feels much better. They did a good job. Give credit where it's due. But overall, the football is still not football. And that's what I wanted to go over today using the handy dandy coach board, if you want to call it that, or tactics board, whatever name you want to give it, this bad boy that you're seeing on screen. Now, the first thing is manual runs. Thank goodness goals didn't go the eFootball route and not have manual runs in the game. I cannot believe eFootball still has not changed that. Fortunately, goals went the same route as UFL and FC. Now, where they differ from FC is in the sense that, say my number 9 has the ball here, and I want my number 2 to get the ball, I can trigger a run away with R1, straight away from the ball, or if I want to press L1, they'll come to the ball. Now, if the ball's passed, let's say over here to my number 8, and I press L1 now, number 2 will come directly to the ball here. Wherever the ball is, L1 will bring the player directly to it. R1, however, only sends the player in one direction, which is away, right? So if, for instance, I trigger number 10 and they're here, or number 7 and they're here, every time you trigger R1, they're going away. The problem with that is that you might want to make a diagonal run, right? And once you add that ability to trigger the run and then, say, flick the right stick like in FC, there's a huge skill gap created. For example, let's move the ball over here to my number 9, right? Let's say that I play the ball to number 3 plays it back, and as that ball is coming back to number 9, I trigger a run from 3, and then quickly flick the right stick. So instead of running straight, I can run diagonal towards the goal. Now, number 2 is in the way of this diagonal run. So once I trigger that run, and number 3 is going straight forward towards diagonal, not straight forward, diagonal towards the goal, I then get the ball with my number 9, and then I face number 2 and trigger them on a run. I press R1 and send number 2 this way, simply because I want the defender to be dragged out of the space by number 2, and now I can play the ball into number 3, who is coming actually in at this angle towards goal, right? Once you add the diagonal runs, you can do tons of things like that to manipulate defenders to open up gaps to create more chances. There's a million different examples I could give, but you get the picture. So that's the very first thing I'd like to see added, is the addition of diagonal runs on the manual triggered runs, particularly for sending players away, but also coming to the ball. For example, right now when you press L1, let's say I trigger 7 to come 2, because maybe the defender, they're too close, they're even behind the defender, so I trigger them to come to the ball. That's great. But what if I see number 2 here, and I could potentially play this through the hole, but number 2's in my way? Knowing that they'll follow number 7, I can then press L1, flick the right stick, and bring 7 out here. If 2 bites and comes with number 7, then boom, I can play this ball through. I could even do something like number 7's here, number 2's here. I want number 10 to make that run. So I point the directional stick over to number 10, right? My left analog stick, I trigger that run on a diagonal towards the goal, right? So they're making that run. But to get that ball through here where I want, I got to get number 2 out of my way. So then after I signal this run, I quickly point the directional stick to number 7, and now I send them over here. I press L1 and then flick the right stick over here, right? And now number 2 follows here, and I can play the ball through. There's a ton of different things you can do by triggering that diagonal run, whether it's players making runs away or coming to. You would simply point the directional stick, the left analog stick, at whatever player, trigger them away or to with L1 or R1, and then quickly after you face or press L1 or R1, you flick the right stick in the direction. Sometimes it will be in a straight line, but having the option to go in any direction would be huge, and it's not like it's a crazy change. Absolutely do not add player lock, because the movement just gets unrealistic, right? Let's say I can player lock number 10, number 9 has a ball. Your player starts looking goofy with all these crazy runs, and yes, the opponent could manually switch to a defender and chase you all over the place, but it's just as unrealistic as when a keeper, for instance, instead of coming out, which I'm so glad there's no keeper movement, but just to make the point, I'm on a breakaway. A keeper is going to come out, try to make sure you can't slip it near post, but be big enough to try to prevent you from sliding the ball far post too. What happens in FC is you beat the defense, and then the keeper slides all the way one way or the other. Sometimes both, and I know they've patched that a bit too in FC, but even in eFootball, the keeper movement, the manual keeper movement is just too unrealistic. The player lock, too unrealistic. All you need is manual triggered runs like we have in goals, but with the ability to send your player in any direction, to or away. You simply face the left analog stick to the player, press L1 to call them to, R1 to send them away, then quickly flick the right analog stick in the direction you want them to run. It's a beautiful thing. It would add a whole nother level of a skill gap to passing, and it would make the game that much better. Now, the next area we need to add in is the defensive abilities. So, playing the updated FC, I noticed that their shoulder charge, or shoulder challenge, whatever you want to call it, is 100% nerfed. Meaning, let's say number 2 has the ball right here. I'm chasing them back with number 9. I get here. And FC used to be able to be all the way over here. You could press X. The AI would close the space down, push this player off the ball, and now you have possession. Especially if you had, let's say, Anticipate Plus or something, which we know these play styles take away from the actual football and can really mess up the game. So again, another area Goals is doing great by not adding that nonsense. However, in this situation where, let's say, 2 has the ball and 9 is there, let's say right here, and 2 is in movement towards the goal, if you do a standing tackle, you may get left in the wind, you may foul the player, but you stop your forward movement. So if you aren't at an angle to win the ball, you're going to press that standing tackle button, right? Maybe they even have the shielding button pressed, so then you just kind of press the button, nothing happens. The attacker keeps running with the ball. You're going to have a hard time catching back up. If you slide tackle, there's a good chance at this angle that you get the player, could potentially get a red card, yellow card, but you don't have a good chance of winning the ball. So this player lowers their shoulder, puts their weight in, trying to push the attacker off the ball, out of the lane that they're running in, and the defender then takes over the ball and then finds a pass out. The biggest challenge then would be, how do you make this work? Like, what do you judge how good a player would be at a shoulder challenge? Well, they could do something like they did with the other attributes, where you put into the equation their strength and their balance, maybe even their standing tackle too, because they are going to have to push the player off and win possession of the ball simultaneously, right? And then the attacker can answer back with the shield button, and of course what would play into it for them to see who wins. Like, is the defender gonna overtake the attacker? Is the attacker gonna be able to shield off the defender? It's something else FC added with, for instance, Enforcer. The person with the ball has the ability to physically drop their shoulder and get the defender off of them, right? So it can work both ways. There should be a button that you can press for that even on the attack, and their strength, their balance, whatever equation the devs come up with, that's where they're the best. That's where they can figure it out. But I believe the defenders need another tool, especially when you have attackers. Let's say we're going against number 1 now. We beat number 9. Number 2's got the ball here. When they're just dancing back and forth, right? The jockey can be too slow, even the sprint jockey, to where an explosive player can just blow right around them, right? And then if you're not pressing jockey, you can easily overstep and the player can get through on goal just because you overemphasize your movement. If you have that ability to put your weight into the player, like maybe you overstep here, you come in at an angle, right? Maybe even if that player, let's say, beats you initially and the ball's around you, you have a button to press where if you press stand tackle here, you're going to foul the player. If you slide tackle here, you're going to foul the player. The ball's been pushed through, but there should be the ability for you to then get your body in there to try to take over that lane so the attacker can't run through on goal. You can then win the ball. I just believe they need another tool there. Whatever it may be, whatever stats it may use to make it work, I think that would be excellent. Then, number 3, we need to have something similar to precision shooting in FC. You look at shooting in both UFL and eFootball, and in UFL, it's way too powerful. But what's silly is you have to be at a certain angle. Meaning in UFL, if I come across at this angle and try a finesse shot around here, I have basically a 100% chance of scoring, right? Whereas if I'm over here just a little bit over further to the sideline and shoot that same shot, it's going to go right to the goalie every time. Because in UFL, the way they did their coding, again, this is without knowing all the technical terms, there's certain angles where they said, yep, this is going in. Nope, this isn't going in. Yep, this area, you can shoot this shot. For instance, if you have Long Ranger, one of their ability perks, which is their attempt to copy off of playstyles and playstyle pluses in UFL, you have something perks and then ability perks. There's one called the Long Ranger where if you have a player with Long Ranger and you shoot the ball anywhere in this general area, like 35 to 45 yards out, it is every single time going to sail into the upper corner. Now, I believe they've nerfed this since then, but that's how they do their shooting. Certain angles, 100% goals. Other angles, 0% chance. Even if it's a realistic angle, like here in a real game, you're going to score this sometimes if you have a player that can shoot the ball well. In UFL, you shoot a ball from, let's say, this part of the box. Every single time the goalkeeper is going to parry it out, and it's going to go the same place every single time. No changes, because it's like programmed in. So there's not a different goalie reaction. There's not a different shot. Same with that 50-yard shot. Every time until they nerfed it, it was going in the top corner. Now that they nerfed it, you'll have the same reaction every time where the goalie saves it in the same place. It's the same reason there's a through ball glitch where every time you get that certain angle where you play a certain through ball, it will lock the defense up because it has something to do with their coding. It will lock the defense up. This player, say, is running through. This player plays a through ball. You will not be able to move your defenders because it locks you up. Your keeper will not come out and get the ball. It could be 1 foot ahead of your keeper, and the attacker will run through and bury the ball every time. And you have players that go for these glitches, go for only shooting at these angles because they're 100% going to work. It's nonsense like that that takes away from the true skill, from the true football being played, right? And it's no different than eFootball having a shooting system that's totally random. Now, you have Showtime skills now, for instance, the new Ibra card where his first 8 shots, he has 90% chance of scoring from wherever he shoots, which is silly, right? So it's like an equation thing, as opposed to, again, your skill, the way you aim the shot and power the shot up. None of that matters. Without those Showtime skills, if you're looking at just a regular shot, it's 50-50. You could shoot the same way. We're not even talking with Smart Assist where you could shoot for the far corner and Smart Assist will say, nope, we want you to go near corner, right? You could shoot and power it up to be a top corner shot in the Smart Assist. If you have it on and you shoot, can say, nope, we want it lower corner, the opposite side of the net, right? It's insane. But even the regular shooting, you could shoot 10 times the exact same way from the exact same spot, and every single time is going to be different. The AI is choosing it, not your skill. So what FC did is they took away green time shooting because it was being abused, right? Players from certain angles had that green time part down, even though that was supposed to be, your ability to strike the ball perfectly or not. If you green timed it, you'd strike it perfectly. I get the concept, but it was being abused where players from certain angles green timed it, and it would essentially guarantee them goals. But they took that away, and they made it to where you couldn't just use the automatic or assisted shooting, I guess it would be called, and then green time, and you were all but guaranteed goals from certain angles. They made it to where you can use assisted shooting, but you're going to greatly reduce your chance as opposed to using precision, where your aim comes into effect. If I shoot it here and I want a finesse shot, I aim it, but then on top of that, I choose either a regular shot or double press the shoot button and I can go low. So you are choosing high or low and then aiming right where you want on the net. It's different than full manual, because full manual, you might go to shoot here and curl it into this corner, and because of the way you aimed, it might go to the corner flag, right? Obviously with precision shooting, it's an understanding that you're obviously going for the goal, and then you're just choosing which part, and then high or low, and then of course you're powering it up. So even if you want a low shot, but you go 90% power, it will still go low. The 90% power won't make your shot rise. It will simply just push it further on the ground because you're going low, right? If you do a regular finesse shot, powered at 90%, of course it's going to go high. There's no doubt goals could do that. They do something similar with passing and whatnot, and it would just add more of a skill gap to shooting. So if they added their version of precision shooting, it would be excellent. And then just for good measure, obviously we know that both the defensive and attacking AI or offensive IQ, defensive IQ needs to be improved. Players, for instance, let's say the defenders are back here, right? We have the ball with our number 9 right here, and my number 10 might be standing here, my number 8 might be here, my 7's behind here. These players are going to need to, at least, you don't want them to do all the work for you, meaning I don't want number 7 to check in hard over here and number 10 to make that automatic run over and do the work for you. But players in this position definitely aren't going to be standing off sides, and then they're not just going to be standing right where the defender can easily take it. They're going to be fronting their defenders or playing off the shoulder, and from there you can make manual decisions on where you want to trigger them, but there needs to be more movement than they are, because right now it just isn't very realistic, and it just leads to sometimes getting handcuffed with the ball because your players just are giving you nothing. You can't possibly control every player at every second, right? And the better players can do it better, hence more success, better in the build-up, which is what I've been inspired by to stop just hoofing long balls every time, because that's what would happen. You would see that you don't really have an option. If you play it on the ground, there's a good chance the defender is going to take it. So you would simply trigger a run and immediately hoof it over the top. Trigger a run and immediately hoof it over the top. And that would make up for that lack of offensive AI. It would make up for your potential to pass and have it stolen from the defenders who read it correctly, because your attackers aren't in a good starting spot as it is. So we know they need to fix or improve drastically the offensive and defensive AI. I have all the faith in the world they can do that. Not making it overpowered, but making it to where just at the foundational level, your attackers are in generally the right area. Not just standing off sides, not just standing behind defenders or next to them, right? So that's, I'll call something that's a given. But the last thing that I hope they do too is totally rework corners, free kicks, and even penalty kicks. For one, they need to have the ability to hide, like the aimer or reticle, whatever you want to call it, because there's stream snipers. So for anybody doing content like myself, please give the ability to hide that like they do in eFootball or FC, where there is no aimer. So, somebody on the stream can't see it and mess you up. But another one that's a given, hopefully they think about us streamers. However, what's not a given is the way they do their free kicks in corners in particular, even the PKs though, but free kicks. I don't mind having the aimer as well as the pulse. I don't mind things like that. But what I like about eFootball is that every different free kick taker, there could be 10 different free kick takers that are excellent, 90 and above, but each one emulates the real life player's free kick style, whether it's more straight on like a Cristiano Ronaldo for more of a knuckleball, right, where they run straight onto it, or come from the side and try to bend it like a Messi trying to bend it around, or maybe a Platini who bent it a bit, but it was more a 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, up, down, which is my favorite, by the way. But each player has their own unique way to take free kicks, and each player you have to work on separately, put in the work in the training ground to get used to it, because the curl you put on each player's free kick is going to be different. If you want to go outside of the foot with that player, it's going to be different. Different players specialize in different shots, and that's awesome. You can do that with made-up players, especially the higher quality free kick takers. Some could be better at that 12 to 6 up-down type of shot. Some could be better at just curling around the wall. Others could be better at that more straight-on Cristiano Ronaldo knuckle shot type of free kick. I would love to see them go more that route. You could still have the pulse if you want. You could still have the aimer if you want. But I'm more of a fan of how eFootball does it, where you aim. Each different player is going to have the different area you want to aim. You power up the shot first, and then as you're running up with the power already determined, then with the right analog stick you add the spin. It's brilliant. Same with corners in eFootball, where you send the corner across, but you have to manually move your players and create different set plays if you want to give yourself a better chance of scoring. You can create different short corner set plays, different crosses, flick-ons, different runs. It's a beautiful thing. I would rather them go that route, because it just adds to what goals is all about, which is your decisions in pure football, and different set plays that you can come up with, different free kicks that you can learn your different players and choose that player that the free kick you like the best, but also having to work with each different player that you have taking free kicks. Maybe one takes one on the left side of the pitch with the right foot, and then on the right side of the pitch, maybe another player does. And you have to practice with both of those players and get their shots down pat. Same with corner kicks, right? Every player lines up. You can just cross it and Hail Mary, hope you score, or you can work on manual runs with your players, right? You flick away from the corner kick taker and you move your players exactly where you want them, and then you make the play. I mean, you could go a step further and even say if you could set a couple plays up, maybe 1, 2, 3. That would be cool too, but I know that's asking for a lot. But again, just to emulate a game that does something well, because these games do a lot that are bad. Overall, they're just really bad games. The corners and the free kicks in eFootball, in my opinion, are picture perfect, and I'd love to see goals adds that or something similar, because it just fits with the entire game and the true football feel, and the having your decision making as the number one factor. So those are all the things that I would like to see changed at the highest level. And I believe if each of these things are addressed, changed, with the genius of the devs at Goals, making these changes and deciding exactly what goes into them, we will have the best game in football gaming history without a doubt. So I want to know what you think in the comments section, what changes you would add. Do you agree with what I'm saying or no, and why? And of course, please leave a like on this video. It does help a lot. If you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you join my Discord. We have a great community. We'd love you to join. And check my YouTube bio for ways that you can support the channel and get great perks. Keep grinding. Keep having fun. I will see you on the next one. Peace out.